What exactly is Adventures by Disney and why we think you should go on one?
I don't know, but I feel like I'm an adventure by Disney all the time. Isn't that just going to the park?
That could be considered, I guess, your adventure by Disney.
But there's a little lesser known part of the Disney company called Adventures by Disney, where they take you on trips outside of Disneyland. Well, some of them is at Disneyland. We're going to talk about that towards the end. But, Wyoming, we were looking at the map. There's 40 different countries where they have a guide take you for an adventure through some sort of part of a city that maybe you want to explore.
So Forbes recently did an article back in September of 2022.
By the way, we're Bruce and Connie. That's Constantina. I'm Bruce. This is Unlocking the Magic UTM TV, where we talk about, Disney cruises, Universal, all kinds of things outside of Disney World.
So Forbes did an Adventures by Disney trips article recently, and they highlight exactly what they think that it entails. And what I found what was really interesting was that they say in this article that it is a lesser known product of the Disney company.
Well, I think people have heard of the Adventures by Disney. Like, they've heard people say Adventures by Disney, but like me, I didn't really know what exactly it was. I knew that it was something to do with Disney and they had a guide take you to do something, but I didn't really understand the whole process.
It says, in addition to parks, movies, and must-have streaming service. Is it a must-have streaming service?
No, as of lately, the only time Disney Plus is a must-have is when this new series comes out. Other than that, it gets a little stale.
In addition to parks, movies, and must-have streaming service, the company has a lesser-known travel product that offers an amazing way to see the world. Adventures by Disney is an ideal way to share the wonders of the world with family members of all ages. Now, there's things that I think people should know of, right? So it says all ages, but a lot of places say ages 6 and up is recommended, but it depends on the kid too, right?
Well, if you have a little kid, it's not cheap.
Yeah.
These Adventures by Disney, and it's all inclusive, so that's why the price tag is usually a little higher, but it's not something that, it's like going to Ohana, right? Mm-hmm. You don't want to take a 3-year-old to Ohana and pay $50 a night for them to eat when you know they're going to eat a piece of bread and some butter.
That's very true.
So when you have these Adventures by Disney, you're paying a premium for the service that they provide, and that 3-year-old's not necessarily going to enjoy all of those services, so you may want to wait till they get older.
So back to all the destinations that Adventures by Disney provides. We can go over all of them in a minute, but it says in this article that it makes it easy to find your perfect trip by offering adventures across the globe, including trips to South Africa, Costa Rica, Italy, Alaska. They say here you can even book a, quote, around the world, end quote, adventure that features a private jet, 6 countries, multiple theme park visits, and also visits to some incredible places like Taj Mahal, the Eiffel Tower, and so on.
So it's basically soaring around the world.
For real.
Wait a second. If you are that person, by the way, here's a PSA.
Yeah.
I need a friend.
That's true.
If you are that person that books that $100,000 per person trip around the world, I need a friend.
Right.
Or you can call us and we can help you connect with one of our agents over at Unlocking the Magic Travel to get you set up with that. So if you don't want to be friends, at least use us to help you book that trip, because that's quite a trip.
They do. They claim to have also luxurious accommodations on all Adventures by Disney. So that's that Disney level of service that you have grown to hopefully love and respect, that they are providing these kinds of amenities. Terrific guide. So you mentioned that earlier about, you kind of knew what an Adventure by Disney was, but the one thing that stuck out with you the most is just having a guide with you.
Yeah, so I was going through the Disney College of Knowledge to just do some research.
Yeah.
And they set you up with a specific guide that's local to the market that you're going to. So you're not getting someone who was trained by Disney. You're getting a local to that area that really knows the ins and outs. And that's, one of the most overwhelming things of traveling to me is the unknowns.
Right.
The reason why we go to Disney and Disneyland repeatedly is because we're comfortable there. It's like a home away from home, right? You know what to expect. You know what you're getting into. And sometimes traveling to Europe or Africa or Asia, for the first time, you think to yourself, wow, I don't know anything. How am I going to be able to do this. Like
Traveling
it's so
to
much
California for the first time.
Or traveling in general, right?
Right.
Like your first time is so many unknowns. It's nice to have somebody there that organizes it all for you.
Having that guide with you, being able to be your on-site expert while you're traveling is probably, I think, super important, and something that I think that could be crucial if you're, like you said, uncomfortable with not really understanding the area and not really knowing exactly what it is you're looking for in an adventure. But they all have high end, and many of them provide extra perks like a spa and a gym, kid-friendly amenities. Again, age ranges, I think it really is dependent on how your kids, you think they may like things. You know, we have 3 kids of our own, and I will tell you that some of these Adventures by Disney would be more geared to certain one of our children versus the other, right?
Yeah.
So even though like the age ranges here say 5 and up, I could not picture our 5-year-old going through Walt Disney's apartment.
No, I don't think they'd have any interest in that at that age. I don't even know if our youngest would have interest in it at her age now.
Yeah, maybe not. I don't know. But then back to the guys, this article says group travel, especially with young children, can be challenging, and trips usually feature a local guide and a U.S.-based guide, as well as local experts, all whom are incredibly welcoming. And they're saying that the terrific guides were knowledgeable, cheerful, and always happy to accommodate any request that came their way. That's a tough job, being, because I don't know about you, but when you're leaving home and you're going to a different state, different country, you're kind of feeling a little out of your comfort zone, right?
Oh, for sure. Wait a second. Have you met me?
It's just different when you're not sleeping in your own bed and knowing your own surroundings. So having someone that is an expert that take care of you is probably incredible, but also probably challenging for them, because they probably know that it might be hard on some people the first time. So you get homesick, don't you?
I wonder if your guide has to be really good. I'm sure they're really well trained, and because your guide really can make or break your trip.
Well, that's with anything.
Yeah,
right?
Like anybody who you put in charge of how your experience is going to go your trip is really dependent on them. So here's the deal. We've never gone on an Adventures by Disney. We've always wanted to, but we're going to do our first Adventures by Disney in March of 2024. We're going on the 4-day. We're starting low. We're going to start with the shortest one to see how it goes, and if it goes good, we'll report back, and maybe we'll do some more of these. But we're putting a group of friends together, and if you want to go, I think there's like 15 or 20 spots left if you're watching this. unlockingthemagic.com/ABD to join us. Again, unlockingthemagic.com/ABD, and we're going on the 4-day Adventures by Disney, Disneyland in Southern California Escape. So it's a little bit different than the full one. This is only a 3 or 4 day trip.
Yes, and that's why we're trying to make it so a little bit shorter. It's shorter, but with lots of magic, right? And we can talk about what exactly it entails in a minute, but it is one of the less expensive ones for Adventures by Disney, and kind of gets you geared up to see, all right, what is this all about?
Yeah, and the reason, so the dates for 2024 aren't technically out yet for this trip. So we're saying the last week of March and the first week of April. Do you know why they're not out yet?
I do not.
Because they have to figure out when the Oscars are happening, what date the Oscars are happening on, because the trip goes near that where the Oscars take place. Mm-hmm. So they have to avoid that weekend. So the Oscars is usually on a Sunday, right?
Yeah.
So if they have the Adventures by Disney Southern California one, they can't have it that weekend because, there's a lot of things happening in that area, and it'll be a lot of traffic in that. So they have to wait till that's announced, and then they can say what the dates are.
That's funny. That's a lot of fun. But that is a big deal for that area, and it's not a very big area, so I can see how it gets.
No, it's very. It's obviously the traffic in Los Angeles already has its. A lot of people know that the traffic in Los Angeles is not great. Yeah, but here's the itinerary. So day 1, you arrive in Southern California. There's a welcome dinner at the Disneyland Resort and a private tour of Walt's apartment, which we did. So this is like we get to go back.
Which is good, because I think I can actually comprehend what I'm seeing.
You can say, all right, what did I miss that first time I went that I want to go back and check? Or what questions did I have that I didn't get to answer? Because, even though you're there for 30 minutes, it goes by relatively quickly. So that's day 1. You get to stay at the Grand Californian Hotel and Spa. There's a welcome dinner. And in the evening at Disneyland Park. So you get access to the parks with this as well. Day 2, you get a private tour of the Walt Disney Studios and archives, and a private tour of Walt Disney Imagineering. This is probably the reason why we're going on this trip.
How are you going to handle me being such a child and so excited, and the energy I'm going to have? Are you going to be able to contain me?
Well, I think that's why we're putting a group of people together.
Okay, good.
You know, it's going to be a group of people, maybe you, that can join us, and I can kind of pass you on to them.
Perfect.
You know?
Yeah.
And do my own thing. But day
Smart.
number 2, you have breakfast at the Disneyland Resort, which is really cool. Private tour of the Walt Disney Studios. You get to visit the archive, shop at the studio tour, and then you have lunch at the Walt Disney Studios commissary. And then, oh, you didn't? Yeah, hold on a second. Let me try again. And then you get a private tour of Walt Disney Imagineering, dinner at Tam O'Shanter, which is Walt Disney's favorite restaurant.
Which I didn't know this. So I was reading through the itinerary before we booked, and I was looking at it all, and I'm thinking, wow. Well, not formally booked, but got ready to go,
Yeah.
right? Because the dates are not out yet. But I really didn't know or hear about this particular establishment. So it's the oldest restaurant in LA.
You know, I knew he had a favorite restaurant, but I didn't know the name of it, so I'm excited to kind of learn about it and then go there. It's been around since 1922.
It's a see Walt's favorite booth where he would sit and savor the Scottish-themed restaurant's old world favorites, including their famous prime rib and Yorkshire pudding.
We got to have that.
Yeah, I love prime ribs.
And
I'm
then
really excited.
day 3, you get to have breakfast again at the Disneyland Resort. You get to visit the 2 parks, Disneyland and California Adventure. And then you get to have your own time, which is what I need after 2-3 days with a lot of people. You get to have like your own time where they let you go off and hang out and just explore the park on your own.
Yeah, I like that. Kind of decompress a little bit and
Yeah.
relax on your own terms versus so you're not necessarily tied down to doing so many activities and not having that minute where you can really just kind of reset.
So it's 3 days. It's not it's not like a whole week. I think it's 4 days total, but 3 days of stuff. And they give you transportation to all of the places that you go. You go as a group. And I just think that this is a great way for us to kind of get our feet wet with an Adventures by Disney and see and report back if it's going to be something that we're going to do more of, which I was looking at the itineraries that they do have, and that South African one, visiting South Africa and going on the safari, is something that I really want to do.
So for destinations, they have Africa, North America. They have a bunch of North America, Asia Pacific, polar regions, Central and South America. And then they have the Europe. And then, of course, if you have deep pockets, around the world, which, I mean, can you imagine anything beyond? Like, you just checked off everything off your list pretty much by doing that. So if you can afford it, that's amazing.
And they have a lot of escapes too. So escapes are the 3 or 4 day ones versus the full 7 or 10 day adventures. And they have a lot of escapes that go to Copenhagen, Buenos Aires, London, Paris, Rome, winter in Wyoming. So there are escapes that you can do, and they're a lot more affordable. And they're only 3 or 4 days long. So if you're like, I don't know if I want to be around a group of people for 10 days.
Yeah.
You know, try an escape because it's the same thing, just a shorter version of that.
I love that. I'm super excited.
What are you most looking forward to? I mean, I'm sure it's going to be visiting the Walt Disney Studios. I mean, we've seen it from outside the gates.
Right.
We've been that child outside the gates that weren't let into the party.
Yeah, it's a little eerie, right? It always looks kind of, whenever we're there, it always looks closed. But I think that's because it's always a weekend somehow. We always land there on a Saturday or Sunday for some reason whenever we're in that area. And I always have to drive by. It's kind of a thing I have, a little good luck. But one time we got out of the car. You're not really supposed to, but I got a picture of the front gate, and I was really excited about it. But yeah, I was just thrilled to be in the presence and just that energy. I was trying to breathe the air of it. I can't imagine what it's going to be like to actually go into the gate and actually visit and experience it for myself. I'm going to really have to try to contain my excitement and really focus on exactly what I'm seeing. I think that's might be my hardest thing is like when I'm looking and seeing things like when we were in Walt's tour in his apartment, it was hard to my brain to process what I was seeing.
Well, that's why you get to go back now.
Exciting.
You know what surprised me the most about the Walt Disney Studios is there's houses right across the street.
Yes.
You know, people live in that. It's in a neighborhood in Southern California where people live, and they live right next to the studio, which was interesting to see.
Definitely.
It's fun to go on Zillow too and, you know, see the name of the street and the number and kind of look up how much that house is worth.
Yeah.
I mean, it's California, so they're a bit pricey and they're not a big as maybe where you live for the price. But.
Yeah, it's kind of nuts when you look at the prices, but look at where you are, right? It's like right across from the studio. How amazing would that be?
It would be pretty cool. I don't know if I wish I could have go back in time and say, you know what, we're going to do this Adventures by Disney. I would have saved maybe I wouldn't, because now that I think about it, we visited Walt Disney's apartment with 10 people.
Right.
If there's 40 people in this Adventures by Disney, how are they going to fit 40 people in that apartment? It's kind of small.
I think they're going to probably, if I had to guess, probably groups. So groups of certain people to go through at a time, so that, because again, it's not a very big apartment.
It's very small. 10 people would probably be the max. So maybe they take you up in groups of 10.
That's probably what I'm thinking they do, but it's definitely going to be amazing and super, super fun.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to that. I think this is going to be a fun trip, and we'll see. You know, I think this is going to be a good way for us to see if Adventures by Disney are the way we want to go.
Definitely.
But if you want to join us, again, I think we have 20, maybe less, depending on when you're watching this video, 20 spots remaining.
Yes.
There's only 40 tops, so it's a very small group of people that are going to be able to join us. Very exclusive. We have a lot of exclusivity on this trip. So if you want to join, unlockingthemagic.com/ABD. Again, it's going to be the last week of March, first week of April. We don't know the exact dates, but that's roughly the time frame.
Yeah, roughly around that time. And hopefully we'll get more news as it breaks, and we'll definitely share it. And I'm just excited to try my very first and then see. I think the rest of the world would be pretty incredible. All right, well, I'm excited. We will bring you more as we get the info, and let us know what you would want to do for your Adventures by Disney.
Yeah, thank you so much. All the links to everything we talked about on this show are below, and we'll see you on the next one.